Hey there. So Pete Matheson had a great interview as he touched on some things that we haven't discussed with others, which is, for example, things on how to integrate some quoting tools potentially into the sales process. Also, different strategies for how to follow up with leads. In addition to the closing tips, we also got into some other things. For example, the huge challenge around generating Google Business Reviews. He mentioned an automation that can be built out that sounds fantastic that we're hoping to try out soon. So great conversation. Hope you get some value from it. Thanks. Bye. Well, great. So, Pete, thanks so much for coming on to my little series on closers. And I always ask our guests just to start off by introducing themselves and telling us a little bit about why you're here.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah. So my name is Pete. Over the last kind of decade or so, I've started my own MSP, grown it, and I recently sold it actually beginning of last year, thankfully, before everything happened. 2 weeks before it all happened in the UK, at least anyway. But basically took my MSP from just myself back in my living room, as most people start off with. I'm a techie by heart. You know, I was always been into kind of tech side and the engineering, and then did that crazy journey of starting an MSP and realizing that you need to figure everything else out that's not technical and the technical stuff at the same time.
Right. And wow, congratulations on selling your business. That is a monumental achievement. And talk about timing. My goodness.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Although I imagine you could have made the case, or maybe you were, which is that, man, this is like the best time to have an MSP.
Yeah, very much so.
I think that came into the conversation.
It is. So we literally signed papers like 2 weeks before the lockdown happened. So we had no knowledge that it was going to get as bad as it got.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, but when we sold, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but when I sold, it was essentially the next day I was a contractor to the business, so I was, there when they needed me. A bit too late to go back on anything by that point.
Wow.
It is challenging because you think, it's a very good time to be an IT company because obviously there's such high demand. But then I'm a massive workaholic. I would have been in every day, in the office, even though you weren't allowed to travel as much. I would still be taking delivery. I'd be just doing everything, and I would have stressed myself out, as lots of other people have been doing, I'm sure.
Yeah, small business owner, grinding it out on top of all that. It was definitely really intense for us too. Just like for everyone. But yeah, well, great. Well, I guess as folks who have been listening to some of the previous interviews, this is a closer interview series, and the spirit of this is really to hear about your experience on being introduced to a potential client when you were in your MSP days, pre-sale of the business, and kind of how, what processes, what did you do to kind of make these deals happen? So do you want to maybe start off maybe with, sometimes I like to hear about the journey of how your sales process improved. So sometimes I like to start with how was it maybe in the earlier days of your sales process, if you had a written process or documented process, if you will.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting because having left and exited, there's all the lessons learned from that as well. And now my role now is I work with a lot of other MSPs, and I help kind of do with my business to theirs and hopefully improve. And I'm learning so much from kind of their businesses as well. But very, very early days, you start off, most IT company owners are techies at heart because they kind of done the technical thing, think they can go off and do it themselves, which is great, and you can deliver the technical work. But it's when you kind of get stuck with I need to find the customers first, and where do they come from? What do I do? How do I market myself? So there's that whole kind of piece. Do you want to pick up from where they've kind of inquired, and then that's when the sales process starts, or do you want to cover any of the marketing bits as well?
Actually, thank you for asking me that question. I think we should start with your strengths, because I know that marketing is in your strengths. So, and we haven't really talked about the marketing component. So I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, let's start with even pre. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Pete. Even before that, if there's some stuff that you want to discuss on that. Yeah, absolutely.
There's some. When you first set up business, you have no idea on what you're doing with marketing, selling, anything else other than delivering the technical work. I mean, for me, when I literally started the business, the first thing I did was obviously you create the name and the logo and those kind of things. But I printed some flyers out, and I went around some local businesses handing flyers out saying, just started an IT business, here's all the information, those kind of things. And I think we got a couple of clients off the back of doing that. But smaller clients. But it was still one of those kind of first things where you realize you need money. You've left your job. You need some money. I need to desperately go out and get some clients. Right. So that whole kind of marketing piece is and still continues to be, a completely development process. You start off with kind of doing the things that you think because you see others are doing, and very much nowadays it's doing things like social media marketing and video marketing. I'm sure we'll cover that at some point, but I'm massive on video marketing. I really, really believe in that. But you just learn things, and it's not necessarily the same things for everyone as well. It's different things can work for different people. I've been at events where I've been sat on a stage with somebody else, opposite ends of the stage, and I've been going, video marketing's great, Google AdWords are rubbish. We've got nothing recently. Whereas on the other end, he's been, Google Ads are fantastic, video marketing doesn't deliver anything. So it just depends, like your own experiences.
Right.
But once you kind of get that thing that works for you, and there's all the myriad of things out there, it's a very, very interesting kind of discussion point on how you then bring them through the process and get them into a paying client essentially. And in the early days, there was no process. As most people just start off with, you'll maybe write the odd kind of Word document for a proposal, and you'll send them just emails back and forth with pricing information and some service descriptions. There is no thought out process. Not really. Today, it's a lot easier because you have things like the quoting tools out there that can do a lot of that for you and digitize a lot of it. But then again, if you're a startup, can you afford it? Because lots of them can be quite expensive depending on the options you look at. So that helps out a lot. And I'm a firm believer nowadays of using one of those systems, like an actual kind of quoting system for you, because it makes the whole process, it ties in with distributors really nicely as well. So if you want to get pricing from various disties, stock availability, all of that kind of stuff can just be pulled automatically. Whereas before it was Excel spreadsheet, let's log on to every supplier portal, see who's got what, see who's got the cheapest price. Oh, well, they've got the cheapest price, but they've got no stock. They've got a higher price, but they've got stock. Can we get them to price match? And it's all those kind of challenges you go through. But it was very much, it used to be an Excel spreadsheet that we ran the business off of, essentially. Nowadays, if you can stretch to it, get a proper quoting system, because that deals with a lot of the back and forth things. Loads of the quoting tools nowadays have like you can change quantities. So if you wanted to sell them 5 PCs and actually they wanted 6 or 7, well, you can let them do that without having to send you a message, get you to do another version of the quote, send it back to them. Is that version right? And then it shortens the sales process. And I think that's one of the focuses from when you do have an interested, a hot lead. If someone's interested in buying from you, whether that's support or services or hardware, whatever it is, that journey from them becoming a customer should be as short as possible, with all of the barriers possibly removed. So whether they need to come back and forth between quotes because they want to make changes, whether there's another step because you need to send them your terms and conditions or your support agreement, try and get that all in as few stages as possible, because then there's less chances for them to get bored or just find someone else that has got a faster sale process. And by the time they've actually got to the end of yours, they're like, well, I've signed up with this, and they're already, they've already booked next week to come out and onboard us. Right. So it's just trying to shorten that process as much as possible. But in terms of I guess from start to finish, it would be, the sales lead comes in, you want to respond to it as quickly as possible, because if you sit on it, someone else is going to get it. So respond as quickly as possible, even if it's, I've got no time in my diary. When looks good for you, I can pop out and meet you next week, or have a video call with you next week, or just even a receptionist or a VA, just someone that can give them that information and say it's going to be scheduled.
It's very funny you mentioned this, because my sister is trying to maybe do an addition to her house, and so she asked me for a referral to an architect and someone I happen to know, and this guy hasn't gone back to her. And I was thinking, boy, wouldn't it be nice to be in that situation where you can take your time to get back to a hot lead? Like, boy, I wish I had that problem. So it's just reminded me, what
we have the same with builders, I think, because I guess most countries now, because all the work's stacked up, that I've contacted 5 builders, only one of them came back to me. And
I'm in the wrong business.
I'll go with them.
Totally in the wrong business.
So definitely, in terms of getting back to them as quickly as possible, 100% do that. And then I like the journey where you go out to see them first, because you get to meet them in person, see what they're like as a person, understand their business, meet their staff, see how they operate, and do that kind of part of the journey. And then you can come back and you can send them a proposal, whatever you want to do, and then bring them to your offices if you've got a location you want to show them. But to get them to come in and see you, whether that's something, if it's a small MSP and you're one man band or something, then you can meet them in a coffee shop or find one of those shared office kind of rooms. But if they can come and meet you, then they can see how you operate, and if you've got staff, what your staff like, and what are their attitudes. And one of the nice things I love was when clients came to see us, they could then hear what was going on, and the background. They can see that the staff are all happy and joking between each other, and there's no kind of, I mean, it was stressful, but there was no visible stress, and people crumbling under pressure or anything that can be some days when it's busy. But just them seeing one side and them seeing the other side as well just helps build that kind of, establishes credibility, and that you know what you're doing, that you've got a real business, that you could be trustworthy and reliable. It just builds that relationship. And so that when you are talking to them about things, well, you've both met each other, you've both met, seen each other's businesses. There's a lot more of a relationship there than somebody who's just, had the sales lead come through, they've just sent them the quote, now they're just waiting to see if they're going to say yes. So I think that's a big part of the sales process. It's just the communication part, really. Communicate.
And that part where you describe like going into their business, like how did you set that, like, what did you kind of do when you got there? What was sort of your goal, and how did you kind of cross?
It's really just and actually it's good because as a techie myself, I'm not a salesperson. I've never been a salesperson, but you're really good at fixing problems. So that, and that's the problem I come across with lots of kind of techies, come MSP owners and business owners, is that they don't do sales. You don't need to do sales. All you need to do is fix problems. There might be a bit of work about how you communicate fixing the problems, which I've struggled with and had chopped and changed over the years, because you'll come in and just be like, oh, you need to buy this, this, and this. Well, yes, but that just sounds like a salesman because you're trying to sell them a load of stuff. There's just ways of kind of just not kind of producing things, but just tell me about your problems. It's mainly a listening game when you go in to do that first meeting. Just, I'm here, happy to help. Just let me know everything, and I'll see what I can do to help. Get to tell you all your problems, any kind of repetitive issues that keep coming up, their reasons why they're looking for another provider, what's their current provider not doing for you already, and just get all the information, gather that together, and then you can kind of process it all and then go, okay, thank you, here is what I recommend, this is what we've done elsewhere, it works really well, this is what, all that kind of stuff. And then I normally don't give out the full proposal there and then, because some people I've seen go in, they literally bash out on the keyboard and say, like, here's the quote, let us know. It's good to come away and think about it and put a more thought together proposal together. But whilst you're there, we got to the stage where we would just give them like the per user pricing. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you've seen any of my content, but I'm a big fan of being public with your pricing. If you've got per user per month pricing, if it's £50 or $100 per user per month, whatever it is, if you have that publicly posted, then you can go into your meetings and quite happily say, well, it's rough pricing. It's about £50 a head or $100 a head per month. And it gives you a good gauge straight away whether they're interested or not at that stage.
Fit.
And yes, you might lose some customers that you might have been able to convert by being that kind of upfront with your pricing. But I'd rather work with 5 companies that are completely committed. They understand the price and they're happy with that. And I just talk to them about the value we can deliver, versus 10, whereas half of them might just go, oh, that's a bit expensive. And then I've got to work really hard to try and convert them and help them understand the reasons why. And it just becomes a lot easier at that point. So it's meeting them, listening mainly, and then just presenting, here's how we can fix what you've just told me and why. And then we can send you the pricing for it once I've had a bit of time just to come back and put it together for you.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And when you're going into the office, is there any effort, and you've seen like in your previous days or your clients now, where they try to talk to maybe some different departments or individuals to get different perspectives? Is that something that is
sometimes it's normally that initial meetings with like the person that wants the meeting. There is a process that I'm also a big fan of, which is like strategic reviews, strategy reviews, audits, whatever you want to call them. And that is what I would say is it's worth having for any kind of customer that you take on board. But I always bring that into the onboarding
after. Otherwise you're investing a huge amount of time into something that may not pan out.
Exactly, because it does make sense.
The sales cycle too.
Go out there, meet everyone, talk to all the staff, find out what their problems are, and find out why they haven't been using their current IT support because they don't come back to them, or just get a good feel for not just the business owner but the staff and their feelings as well. And also you can then go and, audit any hardware if they've still got kind of servers on site, look at any on-prem or any cloud stuff if you can see any of that, obviously with fairly limited access to start with. But just to be able to have that happen as part of the sales process means that you can, when you do take them on board, you A, know everything about them because you've done that work already, and B, it means you can actually put together a really well thought through bit of documentation or system for them where you go, okay, this is what you've got. We've documented everything based on what you've told me in our various meetings. This is what you want to be doing in 3-5 years time. Maybe you want to acquire another business or move offices or scale up, whatever it is. Your IT won't get you there. So we need to, here's the plan. Here's the 5-year plan or 3-year plan of what we need to do to get you there. And then you essentially have the the quarterly business reviews, the QBRs or TBRs, whatever you want to call them, where those are just following along the plan. Have we done what we said we do this month with the the new systems or migrations, whatever it might be? Cool. Okay, on to the next one. Let's look at what's coming up in the next 2-3 months and plan ahead. But the plan's already there. You're just there to make sure you're delivering along the plan. And I love that approach. Obviously, there's things that come out of the woodworks and unexpected Microsoft patches that don't work properly or whatever it might be. But having that plan in place, it just shows you're more organized and that you're following a plan rather than just kind of winging it every month, as we all are. We're all still winging it every single month when running a company, but at least you have a plan of some form to follow along with your clients. Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Like having the long-term, the roadmap, if you will, is so important.
Exactly.
And when you do finally make that final proposal presentation, if you want to call it that, do you usually use like some sort of do you email them something before the meeting? Do you use like a PowerPoint, or maybe it's that quoting tool that you were mentioning earlier, or how does it all kind of play out in terms of, and I guess more than maybe that's not the best worded question, because more than just the things that you use, it's the story, how you put the story together and what you actually articulate in that proposal.
It's interesting because I find it varies depending on who you're talking to. You can gauge quite a lot. Again, if you're meeting them in person, at least a couple of times, you get a good feel for whether they just give me the price. I just want to sign up. That's it. So then you can do a real short proposal, just a bullet point summary of here's the costs, and here's the buy now button. And if you want to grab that, great, brilliant. But then you get the feel for the ones that actually need that bigger proposal. Maybe they're tendering. Maybe you're like one of 3 that's quoting or something, and they need that big amount of detail. And that it can be a mixture, in all honesty. It could be a quoting system. Quoting systems are great. I do love them. But in lots of occasions, if it's a bigger proposal, you can still use something like Word and type a document out, make it really personalized, talk about everything that's going on. And quite a lot of the time we'd do that and have that bigger proposal and just say, and for costings, just see the actual quote. And the quote would come out from the quoting system because it's hooked in with all the distributors and stock levels and that kind of thing. But you'd have those 2 separate documents so they could maybe take the quote to their board and say, here's the costs. And if they asked any questions, go, okay, well, I've got the full proposal here if you want to read through the reasons why and everything else as well. But actually on that, and using video is my favorite topic, is one vital step that we started doing towards kind of the end, towards our exit, and I've seen a lot of my clients do now as well, is when you're sending that proposal, do a video alongside it. They use systems like BombBomb or Loom. There's lots of services out there that record your screen and record your webcam at the same time. Because particularly nowadays, you're not necessarily getting out to see the clients as often as you would do in the sales process. So send them the quotes, but also record yourself just explaining, as if you were sat with them, just talking through the quotes, because there are reasons behind some of the decisions you made. Maybe, yes, this looks like an expensive computer, but there is literally nothing else out there because of the chip shortages. And we'll have one supplier that has stock of this model. It's very short notice. They might not have stock tomorrow, just kind of all that stuff you might want to tell them, but don't want to just fill out pages worth of just pretext before the quotes. Just doing that. And I've done that in a few occasions where, and these systems all track who's opened and where and viewed it and things. They forwarded that video onto all of their directors. So you can see, go ping, ping, ping. And so's watched it from this IP address and this IP address. And they forward it to their whole team and they've all looked at it. And you could just be that convenient. Oh, just checking in to see what you thought about the quote. It's like, I was just reading it. It's like, oh, what a coincidence.
Right. We use HubSpot a lot, and there's a lot of little things in there as well where you can get these little notifications, and we try not to be creepy with those things.
You could be coincidental without being creepy. Just on the off chance, just wondering.
Exactly. Yeah. Just give it a couple of minutes and.
Very much so. But in terms of like from the point of like sending the quote, we learned some lessons over time. We were never one to chase. And I'm still kind of on that form of, if someone wants to work with us or with me or whatever it is, then they'll come to me. Like, we sent them the quote. If they want to, then let us know. We'll happily crack on. There was, I think maybe a couple of sales we lost out over the years where we'd done that, walked away and basically waited for them. And then like 6 months later, we bump into each other and be like, oh, so yeah, how did you get on with your IT? Oh, well, we went with someone else because we thought you weren't interested. Well, we were interested. Sorry. And then you learn the lessons of, okay, well, we should chase at least a few times and figure out where we're going wrong. But at least having some form of follow-up process, even if it's just a few takes. I'm not a fan of just, hounding people and nagging.
Following up. That's the worst.
Exactly.
The worst.
But there's a few things you can do. You can, the first one, after you send the quote, just give them a call and just make sure they've received the quote. There's no pressure. I'm not nagging you. I'm not asking you for any feedback. Just, have you got it? Because I want to make sure you've got it. It could have been in junk mail or whatever it is. Just make sure you've got it. Then you can give them their next, their week or whatever it is, and just maybe another follow-up, whether it's an email or a phone call, just saying, yeah, you've had the quote, just any thoughts, any questions I can answer, that kind of thing. Again, really low pressure, like not kind of putting the pressure on the works or anything. And then it starts getting into the territory of, it depends on you if you're hearing back from them or not, of course. Mm-hmm. If they go very, very quiet, then there were a few things that I'd say to try, but just generally kind of leave them to go quiet if they want to. I still give them the odd follow-up, because you never know, that 7th or 11th email might be catching them at the right moment where maybe the IT company have done something wrong again. And actually, now I need to sort my IT support. But there are some things over the years. We did our cake card. I don't know if you have any services like that overseas. No. There's a service in the UK called Cake Card, which they will send a slice of cake in a card. So it's like a card with a little bit of plastic on the front with cake, and you can choose the right flavor. So you can, if you're clever with your marketing, when you're kind of talking to them, you find out what the flavor, best favorite flavor of cake is and what the favorite drink is, things like that. Mm-hmm. And you can then send them that. And I did exactly that for some of them that went quiet. And that then spurred them to sending me a message. And I just write a note like, here's some cake you can eat whilst you're reading proposal or something, let us know your feedback. And they did in some cases. But there are some times where you just do that. They go completely quiet and they just go off the end of a cliff. And hey, that's fine. I think you can just write them off your system in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever you kind of want to treat that as it's gone cold lead again. But in some of those occasions where they had gone completely cold, there was actually someone that then approached us, like, it must be like 6 months later or something, like, oh, we've been referred to you by this company over here because they said you did such a good job. I was like, what, the company that ignored all our responses and our quotes and everything? It was literally, we had some great meetings with them. They never spoke a word to us again since, even after like chasing. And yet they told us told someone else to use us. Like, okay, well, maybe they just weren't in the right position, but it just annoyed me because, it's common courtesy just to let you know. And
right.
Sorry, we were tied in or whatever it is. Yeah, you're still wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I think the focus is follow up. Just take it on a case-by-case basis as to whether you think it's too much or too little or whatever it is. There was a process we followed. So, if you're using like ConnectWise or Autotask or anything like that, you can just use deal stages or something along those lines. So you can almost have them predefined as, well, the first one is a phone call to make sure they received it. Second one is an email to see how they got on with it. Third one is the cake card, and just have that process that you follow. And then you can then decide, okay, well, I've sent an email. He's probably not the guy that wants to be chased as much. I'm going to do the cake card thing in 2 weeks this time, just to see how he gets on. So it's not a defined 7 days, 3 days, 2 days, week, 2 week, whatever process. Mm-hmm. Take it on a case by case. Everyone's different. Everyone's probably too busy nowadays, but you can gauge it on how keen they are, in that initial meeting. If they're very keen, obviously you might want to chase a bit more. If they're just inquiring, then obviously get it back to them as soon as you could do normally, but just know that you might be in for a bit of a longer follow up. And you could be doing that for like a year. That's what the thing I love about the video marketing thing is that you're constantly out there putting your messages out there, and it gets back to the whole kind of marketing and remarketing. But IT is such a contractual thing that everyone's tied into contracts normally. It's normally like an annual contract. You're just waiting to be on their radar at the time that they're ready to buy because they're out of their contract or coming out of their contracts. So if you don't win it this time, then keep them on the list, keep them remarketing to them. emailing, whatever it is, doing the video marketing is great. Stay on social, connect with them on social, all their staff. Just you want to be in front of them as much as possible and hang around in places where they hang around, whether that's like networking events, trade shows, just anything you can do that, certainly if they're like a dream list client, you just want to follow them without stalking them, just follow them as much as possible without it being awkward. Right.
No, so you've given so much there. One of the things I think it's like the voice in the back of my mind is like right now it seems like to have a good process really requires like the things that you're mentioning, which is to show up and show that you're a human being, that you actually want to help them understand their needs, inquire, to make sure they got the proposal, etc. And then there's the remarketing if for whatever reason it wasn't the right time. But I'm curious, because you're working with a lot of working with MSPs still. The big question I have is like differentiation. What are you seeing with your current clients, or what are you discussing with MSPs so that it's not just about like having like a fine-tuned sales process, which, don't get me wrong, is fantastic, and that will already put you above a good percentage of MSPs. But like, what's the other stuff that?
Good question. That's the horrible question.
It's the
USP, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's the big one.
There's a lot of them, and that's the one I always struggle with that with my own business. In all honesty, I didn't think we were that different. We were just an IT company. We're all selling the same products, selling the same services. It's just how you deliver it and how much you value your own services. And I think there's a lot to be said for the companies that really focus on delivering a good service. So if you focus and nail down hard on your own service you're delivering, rather than less of a focus, so to speak, on the marketing and sales, but just let the service speak for itself. So you focus on that, get some great customer feedback tools in place like Customer Thermometer and Promoter.io and those kind of systems that can feed back to you to let you know if you're doing a good job. And of course, fix the things when you're not doing a good job. But just build that up so that when you do start doing marketing things, it makes that process so much easier. And in terms of the USP, I made a video around our USP was this is me for life. I'm never going to sell my business. I've got another 20 years before I retire or whatever it was at the time. I think I took that video offline now. But it's things like that is so difficult to position yourselves as being unique, because IT companies all look the same on the outside. Everyone thinks they're unique. Everyone thinks they're the best. There are some good companies out there, but it's very, very difficult because they'll be marketing themselves the exact same way the others that aren't very good at marketing themselves. So I think it is delivering the quality of service. It's why I love the video so much, because you can show people that you are doing what you deliver, show people what your customers are saying, share like your internal thoughts and process on how you're trying to grow the company. I think there's a lot said for efforts put in. It might not be the right effort, it might be the right things that you're doing, but you're focusing on the right thing and putting an effort into it. I think that's one thing my staff member said to me at one point, which I was
could you say
really like.
Yeah, say that one more time. Yeah.
One thing my staff member said to me was, "Is the things you do aren't always the correct things, but you're always making an effort to try and improve things, make things better for everybody, and it's not just for yourself, but for the clients, for the staff, for like the business as a whole." So whilst there are lots of companies who are out there just going, "Oh, I'm just going to get a load of money. I'm just going to go do a marketing campaign, do this, treat my staff horrible, pay them horrible, not treat my clients very well, but we'll keep the marketing campaigns going." As long as you're making a conservative effort every single day to improve upon the last day, which is, massive fan of the customer feedback tools, because listen to that feedback.
Tell me more about that. I don't know a whole lot about customer feedback tools, and you mentioned a few, and I think that would be a couple of minutes to hear your favorites. And
absolutely, feedback is one of the first things that I generally put in place in any client I deal with, because you don't know if you're actually running a good company unless you have feedback tools.
Shoot, I got to go put my own feedback tool on mine. This is for me.
Honestly, it's generally like the first thing you should do, because you get the feedback, and you can. The only way, yes, you can put your own improvements in place, but your customers telling you what's going wrong or what could be better is the best feedback you can get. And the fact that you listen to their feedback and implement some of the things they're asking as well, and then communicating it back to them goes a very long way. We had some of the, you get a really bad piece of feedback coming through, you screwed something up properly, someone didn't do something on time, or it was late, or whatever it might be. But if you then reply back, listen to their feedback, give them a call straight away to explain and understand what's gone wrong, and put something in place that not just fixes it that one time or makes them happy, but says, we've literally changed our business. We put a process in place. This particular issue will never happen again because we've done something because of your feedback. That flips that whole unhappy client over to they actually listened to me and they've now changed their business because of what I've said. And just doing that on lots of micro actions where you get the little bits of feedback come through can have such a big impact. It's that whole kind of small changes can move big ships, or whatever that saying is. Lots of little things can have big impacts later on. So listen to the feedback. In terms of tools, Customer Thermometer is currently by far my favorites as an MSP tool.
Thermometer. Okay.
CustomerThermometer.com. I think it's like $29 a month, which gives you 50 responses.
Okay.
But the really nice thing I love about Customer Thermometer is that $29 gets you 50 credits. So you get 50 credits to spend on feedback. Now, you only spend one of those credits when a client gives you feedback. So if they look on a smiley face, or if they leave you a bit of handwritten feedback, whatever it is, and that you don't lose those. So they accrue over months. So if you sign up for $29 a month, not one person leaves you feedback and you're 3 months in, you stop the service, you've got 150 credits left that you can use with your clients until they're all used up. And there's a few times we did this, we were probably going through 100 credits, maybe 150 credits a month in terms of feedback, maybe more actually. But we got to a stage where we had accrued a lot of them and we go, okay, we're going to pause it for a month and just use up the balance we had in there. You don't get that with any other feedback tool. It's all just a monthly cost, whether it's per user per month, and then it's gone, whether you used it or not. Okay. And hooking that service, there's a really magic. I've just, maybe it's next week. There's a video that I'm just about to post on one of my YouTube channels that's about using Customer Thermometer and then filtering it sounds like a really bad way of doing it, filtering the happy clients through to your Google My Business reviews.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, right? Yep.
So you kind of want to, with Customer Thermometer, you get four faces. So it's, unhappy, poor, you've done well and done really, really well. Okay. And you want to grab those ones that have already said you've done really, really well and left you written feedback, and then send them an email to say, thanks for your feedback. We're trying to grow our Google reviews. We'd love if you could just click on this link and leave us like a proper Google review. I did that for one of my clients, and I think he went from something like 14 reviews from like the last decade he'd been running his business to 40 something reviews within 3 months.
Wow.
Of Google reviews. And he was like that. He's now he can call himself the most highly rated, MSP in his area or something is his little tagline if he wanted to. Yeah. Just by doing that one thing, you put maybe like half an hour of work in once, and it's now fully automated. So It just surveys people once you close the tickets. And then they start leaving feedback. Feedback gets pushed through to Microsoft Teams. That then gets pushed through to Google Reviews. There's just this whole kind of system. Something we haven't really touched on, but you might guess I love my automation. If I can automate kind of anything, I will, because it saves you so much time in the long term. Doing an hour's worth of work now for a system that just works by itself indefinitely in the future, I would always do that. Like tools like Zapier or Zapier.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So good.
Yeah, we use it a little bit as well. Yeah, so... Well, this has been great. I want to give some time to get into the video marketing. So before you tell us about it, one of the questions I hope you can answer in that is, in our experience, I know that at least the MSPs that we work with, boy, the presidents and the individuals, they're working so hard in taking care of clients that finding time to create content, any type of content with our help, is not easy. So I'm hoping you could maybe shed a little bit of light on like what you've discovered on ways to help make it easier for MSPs to actually work with you and getting the videos made.
Challenge.
That is a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
It's a different. I mean, certainly for the one-man bands, the guys that are just on their own or in a very, very small team, it's so difficult.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
You don't have the time. Yeah. The best thing you can think, if you can afford to outsource, then definitely do. That's well worth doing. Here in the UK, there are great schemes like apprenticeship schemes where you can get very affordable labor, where you kind of put someone through college, like a university course or a degree, but you get them on your staff like full time essentially whilst they're doing that. So you can hire, £500 to £1,000 a month can get you like a full time member of staff essentially.
And they're getting credit in their university for that work.
Exactly, they're getting skilled up. They're getting taught like digital marketing apprenticeships. They're getting led through by their course how to do like Google ad marketing and video marketing and social, all those kind of things. So that's a great thing, but I think it's only unique to the UK. Outside of that, social media marketing is fantastic. I'm glued to my phone. you can just get your phone out every few minutes, not every few minutes, but when you can, when you've got a few minutes, post something, post whatever you're thinking about, and get involved, engage with other people posting online, just whatever you can afford to do within your time, because time's very limited.
Right.
Again, with thinking back to my very earlier days, social media for me would be my personal channels, and my business channels would be like dead, because I was so busy doing everything that you don't have time to do everything. So there are tools like Meet Edgar, where you can. That's fantastic when you're getting started out, because basically you create some categories and say, okay, on Monday I want to post a testimonial, Tuesday I want to post a news clipping, Wednesday I want to do this. You just kind of pre-program when you want the content to go out, and then all I would have is an hour slot on, say, like a Monday morning, where I would load it up with some extra content. And what happens, which is great because that can go out over that week. But if you have a busy week, or you're off on holiday, or you just can't get to your social media, it will automatically recycle that content and keep your social media feeds like busy. Obviously, the more stuff you have in there, the better, because it doesn't look like you're recycling the same stuff again.
Right.
But just the fact that you were still seemingly active, because I do this fairly often, maybe less so nowadays, but when you look at a new company, you're not sure about them, you go to their social media. Are they active? Are they posting anything that's relevant? If there's nothing being posted for like 9 or 12 months, you really wonder if they're still in business, let alone all the other bits as well.
Right.
So just having something like, again, automation that can post stuff out for you on a regular basis, just to make it look like you're active, because you're bloody active doing all the delivery stuff and service delivery. Just using tools like that to your advantage to keep you busy.
Yeah, no, that's a great. So I got a couple of tools to look into after this. We end this, but yeah, let's please tell us more about what you're doing now. So you sold your MSP, and what are you working on now exactly?
So we started doing video marketing as part of marketing our MSP. That's literally the only reason why I'm doing this today, is because I literally tried to sell IT services with video.
Oh wow! Okay, wow.
So we started doing that probably around 18 months before we ended up selling the company, and it was doing really, really well. We were building a good following, and it was opening a lot of doors for us in terms of recruitment, obviously building our company's brands, and just opening doors to other vendors and other people. And it just got us to places where normally we wouldn't have got to with using video, because no one's using it. Again, if you can use video,
you already stand out.
You already want above the rest of it. It puts you on, the bar for video production at the moment is very, very low. There's not many people doing it.
It's so hard. I mean, it's so hard it's a lot of work. It's skill. It takes a lot of different skills to pull off.
It is indeed. And it's commitment. That's the issue I see for a lot of people, is commitment. Because with video, it needs to be consistency, regular videos every single week or whatever it might be. So we started doing videos for the MSP. And then when we came to selling the company, I could see the potential of what video just as a thing could do. And it could take off very quickly, or it could be a slow and steady kind of build thing. And so I went, okay, well, we're gonna sell, but I'm gonna take the video thing with me, the YouTube channel, and we're gonna try and grow it and just see where that can go. So that was my only real thought after leaving, that I was gonna become a YouTuber or something, which is really weird. And I carried on doing that. I'm very aware that with video, it's consistency. So even when I was in my retirement period of having sold and having some time off with the pandemic and being stuck at home, I still did a video every single week, at least one video. Wow. And so that's kind of grown into its own entity now. It's, we're just about to hit 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've now created a second channel dedicated just for the MSP content. So that kind of whole thing has taken on just a bit of a mind on its own. And then after selling the business, I was approached by just a couple of IT companies who had seen that I'd sold the business because we'd been making videos. So they knew of me through the videos. Yeah. And then have gone, I love what you've done. Love what we did with Techers. Built the brand, looks amazing. Can you help me do the same? Can you help me build my business, or can you help me with video, or whatever it was? And so I went, well, yeah, happy to get to do all the fun stuff, none of the stress of staff or customers or legals or finances or any of that stuff, just all the fun stuff. So I did that for a couple of months. And then I thought I'd just post on LinkedIn and just go, hey, would anyone else be interested in working with me? Posted out 2 LinkedIn posts, 25, 30 video calls were booked off the back of that.
Wow.
This is in the IT industry where that never happens.
Yeah.
No, that just never happens in the IT world. You can't put out 1 or 2 LinkedIn posts and get 25 clients off the back of it.
No, not at all.
So it was really good. I became fully booked off the back of that. And then, so I now basically offer one-to-one coaching with MSPs. And I also now have like a course off the side of that. So where I got really, really busy, I was like, well, I can't work with anyone more on a one-to-one basis. I need something else where I can still help more people. So I created a course where I'll upload templates, tools, resources. There's a ton of like for UK audience particularly, there's like contracts, like legal contracts and agreements, and just a massive video. I think we're up to like 120 videos that I put together. That's literally from starting an MSP, like from scratch through to selling an MSP.
Oh, the whole business.
Basically taking them through kind of my own experience and knowledge. I've always said like, I'm not an expert. I don't guarantee anything. It's just one person's experience of running one MSP over the last kind of 10 years or so. And, we had a good time. We grew it to a good size. We hit we went over 1 million turnover. We had 16 staff. It was a good journey. And if there's anything I can give that can help people to, help them with their businesses, then I'd love to do that. Fundamentally, I just like to help people. That's why I like becoming an engineer, because you get to fix problems and help people. That's why I love the coaching. You can help people. Why I love YouTube, because you help them with whatever the product is you're talking about. It's just, that's my passion, is just helping people in whatever form, really. So yeah, there's the coaching, there's the YouTube, and we've also recently started a video and marketing agency that's with the idea that we are going to help MSPs. So the MSPs that don't have time, but they maybe want to do the video side of things, well, we can help you with that, whether that's the actual creation or whether it's just the editing services, as little or as much as people need us to do them for them, essentially. But yeah, it keeps me busy.
Yeah, that sounds bad. So how can people find? I mean, most folks who are listening probably already know who you are, but if they go to your what's your website? What's the domain?
So there's kind of two sides. So on the YouTube and that kind of side is PeteMatheson.co.uk or YouTube/Pete Matheson. Or on the coaching side of things, it is notabusinesscoach.com.
I love that name. Yeah,
I'm not a business coach, but I kind of went with that name. Or it's youtube.com/notabusinesscoach. And then for the video marketing, if everyone's interested specifically in that, it is continuity. Oh, what's the web address? Continuity.uk/video, or maybe /video marketing. It's something like that. Go continuity.uk and then it'll be in there somewhere.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Pete, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have you on maybe sometime in the future for whatever the next MSP series happens to be.
Would love to. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Pete. All right.